Okay, so now that we've finished the bracket, we're going to move on to our third and final part, which involves a slightly different technique. First of all, we're going to change projects and create a new one. So you should have done this several times now. So we'll call that bearing. We can just hit finish. It is the default, and we can open a new part. So into the origins, just like before, XY plane, new sketch. Now slightly differently this time, we're going to create a line. Personally, I just like to create a horizontal line, then select it, right click and turn it into a center line. Because the part that we're doing now is round, through the middle we'll have a center line. Now I want to move this over that center point, and we use the coincident command. So we find the center point of the line. Okay, now when we get to the end of this sketch, we will have a one dimension needed rather than fully constrained, and that one dimension is just going to be the length of this center line. So we're now ready to start modeling our shape. We're going to create a rectangle, and then halfway along the rectangle I'm going to put a circle, and then I'm just going to trim away half the circle and the inside of the line. Now what I want to do is just get this part all lined up across the bottom, so these two lines together in line with the center line and down the middle. So I'll get all that geometry right first. So the first one I can use is collinear for these two lines. Now I can't use collinear on a center point, so I've got to swap to horizontal and pick the end point of that and the center point. I'm going to vertical the center point and the midpoint of the circle, and also the center point of the line at the top. Now in theory I should move these bits and everything should move in line. Okay, so I'm happy with the constraints, so now I can go ahead and dimension. So the first part is like we've been doing before. It's 20 wide. It's got a radius of 6 in the middle. And this next bit is slightly different. I'm going to measure from the center line. I'm going to click the line, not the midpoint or the end point, but the line, and then another line here. Now because it knows it's a center, it knows it's round, it's going to jump into what we call a diametric dimension. So the inside is 30, and I'm going to repeat that on the outside to 50. Okay, so the one dimension left is just the length of that line, so I'm happy with that. Will be finished sketch. Just go back to the ISO view. What I want to do now is revolve this shape around the center line. So Inventor looks for an axis of rotation and a closed profile, and it's found both of those automatically. If it couldn't find them, it would ask you to select, and these white arrows would actually be red. So I'm happy with that, and I can hit OK. Now I've got some chamfers to put onto this part now. Now the first one's chamfer is that inside edge, and it's opposite there, and it's 1mm. And then again on the outside of the part, and they're 2mm. And that completes our simple revolved shape. Now in my mind, what I look at in a part is if it's sort of square shaped, and I'm going to use extrude. If it's a simple round shape, like something like a washer, then I would have used the extrude. But if there's any other complex round parts, then I'll always go with a revolve. So the last thing is we need to save our part. Remember to give it a proper name because it ends up on the drawing. And that's us complete on modelling part.